Okay, I'm here. Welcome you to Yggdrasil Shadow, to another video. I want to thank all those that watched the first one and liked it and shared it, gave some comments. That's really appreciative. Thank you. Just a little note, I'm going to try and make some live videos. I think that will help out because you can interact and ask questions and talk. That might be an avenue I'm going to approach here soon. But on this video, I guess I'd like to sit here and talk a little bit about sitting here and listening to people talk. What the biggest questions, feelings that run through their mind are. And a lot of places and a lot of people, they're just unhappy. They're unhappy where they're at in life. They may seem happy. They may have all kinds of money and seem well to do, but they're not happy. They got problems, like I was talking about yesterday a little bit, physical, mental, and everybody's asking why, and they latch on to something that they think or been led to believe is going to cure all for them, and I think that's a big problem, and I can relate to a lot of that. Some know me, some don't. I was born in a Christian upbringing, and I was even a pastor for a while. And actually, that led to more questions than it answered because there's so many Christians. I will not bash anyone's faith. I'm telling you that now. I won't do that. They're on that path for a reason. I was on that path for a reason, but it led to many questions. And just within the Christian community, there's a lot of Christians that are suffering from disease, addiction, depression. Some have mental breakdowns. And I'm not saying that derogatory toward anyone. But my question was why? Why? If this was supposed to be the cure-all and the savior, why is so many of them in the same boat as the people that were, quote, sinners? And I remember reading one place that Albert Einstein, they asked him, how come you're so smart? And he said, because I think like a child. I asked why. Why does this happen? Why? I may repeat myself a lot on that why. But if you ask yourself why, like a child does, you'll get to the answers. So I asked myself, why? And I really never found the answer. And that's where the big my question of that faith started. One of the verses say, I count it a blessing to suffer for the Lord. I don't feel that we are brought into this world to suffer. I think we're brought into this world for the total opposite, to enjoy life, to fulfill our desires, to experience what your soul wants to do. So I want to start out by saying, I'm going to say this just to keep myself out of the hot water, I guess. If you're seeking professional help on it, don't stop. If you're taking medication, don't stop. But there's a big difference between spiritual healing and philosophy than there is in the mainstream. And what I'm going to try and do is we'll just let the Spirit say what it wants to say, and we'll go from there. And this is a spiritual philosophy. And again, I'm not telling anyone to stop taking medications or any of that. But from a spiritual sense, and this is pretty much worldwide, there's underlying things where they all overlap. And one of them is we all spiritual, all philosophical things that they sit down and talk, they have underlying things that they all talk about. And one is that everyone can agree on that we're a soul, and that soul came from somewhere and entered a body to be here to experience the physical world. And what happens is that soul it knows what it comes here to experience and want to do. And there's a little split again. Some people say that the soul comes here to learn how to be an alcoholic. That's what it wants to come to be and experience. I don't agree with that, because that isn't a happy life. I know of a man, he gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning, milks his cows, he farms, comes to work, works 8 or sometimes 10 hours a day, goes back, milks them. By the time he gets done with the chores, he's done at 9 or 10 at night, gets back up day after day after day. And people say, well, why don't you give up the farm? The farm pays for itself, his work pays for his other bills. But his soul, he is perfectly happy doing that. I've really never seen him mad, angry. He is just happy knowing that he can go out there, get on his tractor and plow the field or feed the cows and milk the cows. Even though it's not a profitable venture, he's happy doing it. So he wasn't brought in here to suffer, because the suffering that he uses at work, the benefits he gets of just being happy doing what he wants, that outweighs what we would call the suffering. So what happens is your soul comes into this physical body, and this physical body is nothing more than a bioelectrical, computerized machine. And the problem is you have a soul that is perfectly happy, knows what it wants to do, ends up in a body, but it can't really communicate in the physical world yet. It just, there's a barrier there. Just like a baby, when a baby comes out and it's born, it'll sit there, cry, it'll learn this, learn that, start to walk. Well, so too does the soul learn how to communicate. And it communicates through different ways, but the body is made up basically of your soul, your conscious brain, your subconscious or unconscious brain. Just like a baby, baby has to consciously learn how to eat. Grab a fork and put it up there. After it does it for a while, that's subconscious. It turns into the subconscious. Then you start doing things unconsciously. Some people have unconscious quirks. You know, they might scratch their neck. They just do it. They don't know they're doing it, but they're doing it. So the soul uses the unconscious to communicate with our conscious. And kind of like a computer system. I'm sitting here with a computer. I got a computer in the right hands, it'd be a great tool. I don't know that much about it. I'm going to sit here and admit that. I know there's widgets and all this stuff on your phones and this and this. And so what happens through life is people say, do this, do that, add this, just like a computer. Well, the next thing you know, you get viruses. But you can't give up that virus because it is a shortcut to something. So then you have to decide if you want that, and the next thing you know, people's computers are crashing and doing that. That's basically, if you look at it in the basic terms, that's what happened. Our souls come here with a perfect hard drive, perfect everything. It knows what it wants, tells us as a child what we want. And if you look as a child, most children are happy-go-lucky. They don't care when they start learning to dress themselves if they're wearing a purple sock and a green sock, a sandal and a flip-flop, a pair of yellow pants and a purple shirt. They don't care. They're happy. That's what they picked out. That's what they like. But immediately the parent says, nope, you can't wear that. That's ugly. Right there. There's a program. That child's being told what you want isn't good enough. What you want is wrong. Well, then the soul says, wait a second, I was experimenting with life. I want to do this, and it's not hurting nobody. It's doing this. Why can't I do it? And it might come out in a cranky baby. It might come out in a baby with a gas, colic or something. That's the way the soul communicates to the humans in the physical world. And that's why there's sickness out there. From a spiritual point of view, if there's something going wrong in your soul, it will manifest itself somewhere in the physical world. I was reading a book about Reiki healing. I forget the man's name that started it. You have to forgive me. But he came back and he was healing people, and I think it was for 7 years. He was going around the town healing people, making the cripples walk, making all kinds of stuff, phenomenal stuff. One day he come to this guy, and there was a beggar sitting there. He was a little deformed and malnutritioned. And he went to heal him. He says, I healed you 7 years ago. He says, yeah. He says, but I found out it was easier to sit here and beg than to go out and work for a living. And at that moment, the healers realized you have to heal a person's soul for them to be physically healed. And I can attest to this. I've worked hard my whole life, hard physical jobs, and I kind of beat my body up here and there. But my body, there's a book here, and there's all kinds of articles and literature on it. I had a problem. One day I was riding the forklift, and it bounced, and I twisted my back. From that time on, I kind of had some back problems. They kept getting worse. I did what we call shadow work on myself, and I'm constantly doing it, self-examination, and I found out, there is a big monster, a big inner problem that I had to deal with. And I should have dealt with it years ago, but I was programmed a certain way that you have to behave this way because what would Grandma think? What would Grandpa think? What would everybody think? I confronted that problem, and the second I confronted it, my backache went away, and I haven't had problems with it ever since. So I know, and there's times I will be walking or doing something and my elbow will start hurting, and I'll say, man, why is my elbow hurting? And I'll get the books out, start looking, and if it's the left elbow, the right elbow, it'll say this is the problem. And I'll start reevaluating myself and look at it and start changing it'll go away. That's your soul telling you what needs to be fixed. Now, there are people that for whatever reason, don't want to get themselves fixed. I'll use that term. They want to have someone else fix them, and we touched on that yesterday about the practice I do. They'll go to a chiropractor 2 weeks later, 6 days later, they're going back. And there's a problem that they're not following in their soul. And that's where, when you're trying to communicate to people and tell them and show them and try and explain to them, they don't want to believe this, which that's perfectly understandable because of the programmings we've been put out for over the past however many years. So what I really want to do is I want to explain, yeah, you can be healed, but it's going to come out somewhere else. All these, a toothache, when you have I go to the dentist for a toothache and a drill, and then he fills it, he fixed it, but not the problem. The problem is what you eat. You don't take care of your body right. You're eating the candy, you're eating that. So you didn't, that's the focus to me on spiritual healers. They should fix the soul, help get the soul aligned with the body so that the body can so that the individual, that's kind of the easy part. The hard part is convincing people, that's what the problem is. I listened to a great spiritual teacher, in my opinion, and he drinks cobra venom at certain festivals and stuff. And the reason he can do that is he spent his whole life getting his soul or his body and mind to do what the soul came here to do. And he's in pretty much perfect health. Because if he wasn't, if his gums had any gum disease or anything in it, the venom would go in there. If he swallowed, if his throat, if he spoke wrong, if had a hoarse throat, that's a sign of, excuse me, or something popped up. That's a sign that he's out of balance, and the poison would go through there. The same whole thing. So the best way to be happy and figure out what you want to do in life and what your soul's purpose is pay attention to your body. Your body is your soul's way of telling you you're not following the right path. And some people say to them the right path is this religion, is this belief. You're not doing this or you're not doing that. No. As a rule, if you're doing what makes you happy, the path has nothing to do with making you happy. Okay, you all hear about the destination isn't the most important thing. It's the journey. And that's what we're on. We're on a journey to a destination to be happy. And people think if I do this practice or I do that practice, but they don't understand the practice and what it can do to benefit you, they're not doing, they're missing the mark. And I've found out it's a good practice. I like it. Qigong or Tai Chi. But if you understand it and how it works and how it moves the energy in that, you don't need 90% of the things that people think they need to help in their spiritual path. And people get stuck and, well, this is the way we do this to do that. You have to do this to do that. No, you'd have to listen to your soul. Now, there are proven techniques, proven things. Everything we all know works on the frequency, vibration, sound, and there are certain techniques that do open up different channels of energy. I'll use smudging. Everybody and their brother and sisters, I don't want to, I'm sorry about that. They're going to grab some sage and smudge the negativity out of your house. Well, people don't really understand from a spiritual point of view the ritual that's involved to do the smudging. It's very detailed. Yes, the smudge stick itself may have some proven antibacterial qualities. It may have some anti-negative qualities, but it should be a ritual where you connect with that spirit or that soul of the plant, the spirit of the soul of the smoke, that it's carrying out your purposes. See, it's much more deeper than just, I'm going to light some, there, my house is cleared. And I just wanted to make people aware of different things, especially here in the Western world. We're taught a hodgepodge of everything, and really, even myself, I say this, if all the knowledge out there was the sand world, if you took one grain of sand and pulverized it and took that one little piece, that's about all the knowledge I know. And not being brought up and living in that, we can only go from life's experiences. And my life's experiences as far as healing goes is it is really, really a matter that you are not following your soul's true desire or your higher self, what people would call their higher selves. And the reason that we don't follow it is because of what we were taught from a young age. We have been taught, most people are living their life out of guilt of some sort. You know, well, I can't do this because what would the neighbors think? I can't do this because this person won't like me. And that there is a big issue. That's a big issue that people have that they have to overcome. And that's where the shadow work, what we call shadow work now, that's where it comes in. That you have to face them shadows, just as I had to face my major ones and minor ones. It doesn't matter what religion you're on, what path you take, what magical spell you put out there. If you're not following your soul's desire and going against it, life is going to be rough for you. You can have two people born in the same family, raised the same way. One turns out, we'll say, a drug addict, an alcoholic, into depression, everything. The other one could turn out to, say, be a lawyer. Why? Because one reason is nobody takes into account how the problems that caused that one individual to be, we'll say, the negative person. Maybe he felt that he wasn't good enough like his older brother. You know, there's so many things. We can't judge people. All we can do is look at their shadows and help them face them. And once they start facing their own inner fears, their own, what the root of the cause is, then their body will start to heal. I touched on this yesterday. There's people that they don't want to face it, so they'll take this pill. Well, your soul's going to tell you something else. It's going to say, wait, you're not following me. So then they got to take a kidney pill. Well, you didn't straighten your life out. Now they got to take a liver pill. Oh, you didn't straighten your life out. Now you got to take blood pressure medicine. It just will keep multiplying. These, in a spiritual sense, these diseases, depressions, they're all a symptom. They're not a cause. They're a symptom. So in my practice and what I try and do is lead the person and let them find their problems and confront them. And once they confront them, then their body starts healing. And to me, that is the real essence of spiritual healing. I like keeping these videos short because it can give you stuff to think about, a little bit of time to look at it, and if something, you could go research stuff on your own. And I'm not going to sit here because my opinion is my opinion. If this soul was born 4 miles down the road to the other family or across the world, I would have a total outlook on life. I would have different thoughts, different upbringings, different reasons why I think the way I do. So I have learned all I have to do is try and put all those little programs, all those little shortcuts that are on the computer, all the things that give you bad viruses, and then people say, hey, you have to download this program, and it gives you a virus. And the more simple, the better. Learn to get yourself out of the way. Learn that most of the problems are emotional ones. People don't want to believe that. They're emotional attachments. They're because of being made felt guilty or not living up to someone's standard. And once you understand that you're your own person and that you do have rights as a person, your body will start to heal from a spiritual point. And sometimes there are miracles. I'm not saying there isn't. There's people that's had cancer and come out and they fight it. Why? Because they say, I'm going to beat this. It's their attitude. And a lot of people have beat cancer and they haven't been on a real spiritual path. They haven't been on this path or that path. It was just their soul and them aligning. Now, we could use the different tools to help us communicate with our soul, and that's up to the individual. But whatever it is, it's you have to do it. You have to be willing to face your shortcomings. And I speak to myself too. I sit here as I'm speaking to you and I'm thinking in my mind, well, I have to change this in my life to make me a little better. I have to change that. But I have learned to put myself, my ego, Jim Craker, on the back shelf and look at things at a more different perspective. I guess the Spirit's about done with this. So, in my practice, just so you understand, that's my philosophy. That's how I think and feel, to help guide that person. And there's a lot of people that say, well, if I get rid of my backache and this, I can think clearly. Your backache's there for a reason. Change that, and then you'll be able to think a little more clearly. Again, I want to thank you for those ones that did watch the first video and shared it and liked it. I like that. This is all new to me. If you like this one, like I said, everybody I watch, hit the like button and the subscribe. I do want to start going live. I'm letting you know that. That gives, I guess, people can type in and ask some questions, and we can try that avenue. Once again, I want to thank you. May be blessed.